Hi guys, and welcome to a little bit of a hints, tips, question and answer video. And today I'm going to be answering a question from a member about masking up not actually canopies, but the areas like canopy cavity, wheel wells, engine bays, etc., cowlings that you've painted and you want to mask off, stop paint going over when you're applying your top coat or your camouflage. So the product we're going to be using is this good everyday foam. Now it's not the polystyrene foam, it's like a packing foam that they have around electrical equipment like TVs and microwaves and things. I picked a couple of lengths of this up when we bought a new microwave, I think it was, years ago, and I've had it ever since, and this has been a very valuable just a little piece of just normal everyday what most people would throw out. It has amazing uses and I'll show you just a couple of those in this video. So the object of this video, the question was, we've been building me and a couple other guys have been building the Airfix swordfish as part of like a little bit, let's build it and see what it's like. And one of the guys said, I'm having trouble masking up my canopy, well my cavity where I've done the cockpit and everything, and it I can't get masking tape over, etc. And is there any way that you can, and like an easy way to do it that doesn't need like expensive tools? And I said, well yeah, I'll do a video of you to show you what the way I do it. So I'm up to the same stage as everyone else now that my cockpit is painted, my canopy's masked off, and I've got a little bit of the Humbrol Sky sprayed on the side of it, and I want to mask this area up ready to start spraying my dark sea grey and slate grey on. So instead of using the traditional method where people have used masking tape and they've cut it out, or they use silly putty and things like that, it's all an extra added cost. What I find is this good old foam packing tape, and I'll show you how it works. So the first thing is, of course, you'll need some foam packing material, a very sharp hobby knife, a new blade, a pair of pointy nose tweezers, and the humble everyday cocktail stick, probably one of the toothpick cocktail, probably one of the best things to have in your hobby box because there's so many uses for them, they're unbelievable. So we'll start masking up this little bit of an area here, and I'll just show you an example for what I do. So what I'll work out is I'll cut a piece of this foam. You sort of got to use a sawing action, and a very, very sharp hobby knife is a must for it, and I love cutting through this stuff. It's like doing brain surgery, but I'm no brain surgeon. So you cut something out roughly this sort of distance here, and that's just by eye, because once you start doing it you'll get used to it, and you don't have to all cut it in one piece. You want to make sure that the foam is a little bit thicker than the area you're cutting out, so the foam, memory of the foam actually pushes back out against whatever part that you're trying to mask, which seals it off from overspray and holds the part in there so it doesn't take off when you hit it with the airbrush. So what I normally do now is I roughly, there's no rocket science here, work out how far or how long this piece of foam needs to be. So just excuse the fingers, and I'll just cut down here without touching the model, break it off, and I block it in there like that. So as you can see now it's fairly sealed, but it's looking quite big. But what you can do, you can either cut this back down again, or if you carefully tuck with your toothpick the edges around, you can use that and just leave it there like that, as long as the foam is not interfering with anywhere that you want to paint, as long as it's not covering over. So, but for instance sake, we'll cut this one down a little bit. So I'll grab my little pen and I'll just roughly mark it there. So that's the thickness we want. So we've just cut that again, we've modified a little bit. We've pushed that back in there. It's not damaged any of the small parts on the inside. And then we've got a tiny little piece here, in the top here. What we can do now is just cut a little slither. Just tuck that back in like that, and then that area is masked up. Then this little area here, the back of the with the Vickers K gun goes. I'll just modify this, just pushing it round with my trusty old toothpick, and then we can put in the back here another little small section like that, and then that little area is masked up as well. And the same with the front canopy here. Once we've masked it up, we just cut a little block which I cut before, and that just plugs in there and acts as a mask. So that's that part done. The other parts that I've used the foam on before is a round section. Now if you have a piece of foam, you cut it out roughly about the same, bit bigger than your canopy. You just roughly cut around it, as long as it's a little bit oversized, and then you can press that foam into this engine cowling. This will protect the engine cowling on the inside from my my Humbrol 53 or the aluminium colour. I can then paint this inside section in the copper or brass colour for the radiator, then later on mask that up. But then I've got that protected. I can have that masked up. I can sit a toothpick in it, and then I can sit that smack bang into my bit of foam, and it adds as a wonderful parts holder. The other thing you can do with it is, what we have here is a underway project of the Airfix 148 scale Schmidt BF109E, and as you can see, I have started masking things up with it. So little air vents in here, and I'll show you. It's just all it is little blocks of foam. It pulls out, doesn't damage anything. I've got foam in the radiators here, but I've also used it for these wheel wells. So the way I do my wheel wells on these 109s, the foam doesn't like sitting in some shallow places sometimes. So the two techniques that I use for my wheel wells is I run a little bit of blue tack, and I'll carefully move the blue tack, push him into the wheel well, making sure it fills up the void, and then I run so the blue tack's in there like that. And then what I'll do now is I'll split my foam in half, roughly the size I need, and then that will push into that wheel well. Now it does take you can push it in if it's oversized. It does fit into gaps quite well, and then I just move that in there, and then that's your wheel well masked up. And like these vents in the front before, all it virtually is getting hold of the foam, pushing it in there, making sure the foam's not anywhere where your paint's going to go on the exterior of the aircraft. You don't want to have any areas just that that the mask doesn't want to cover up. Put this one in this little back radiator vent again, like that, and this little front piece here. And because it's sort of got a bit of memory to it, it'll open back up. We've got a piece in the tail wheel there. So that just simply Grab another toothpick. I'll just push him up into that area there. Oops, a daisy. So you've virtually masked up your whole entire aircraft in no time. You want to make sure, if you want to get a better fit and you think, oh, I'm not quite, there's a couple of gaps around an area there, you can run a little bit of, where's it gone? I'll use this Mr. Hobby mask sole, and I'll just run a bead of that around the edges if I want to. I do have a little bit of overspray. I leave a little bit of overspray in my wheel wells. I think it just adds a little bit of realism from the painting process, because it always will be in the field. So that's the amazing foam. It's very, very good. As I said, you can get it for nothing. It's lacquer proof, it's enamel proof, and it's reusable, so you can pull it out and cut it and put it back into another kit again. It's wonderful for holding your parts, so if you've got little things, you can have it set up. You can stick all your little toothpicks and things in it, and they're not going to fall out. And I've actually seen them being made into jigs with metal toothpicks and everything, and they've actually made a jig up to make sure a biplane's wings are straight. They've jigged it all up and used it that way. So it's a very handy project. It's a very handy piece of material. Try it next time. It's not just for aircraft. You can use it on your military, on your tanks and vehicles and warships and sci-fi and everything. You can even break this bit of foam away, you know, tear a piece away, put it in your tweezers, and you can actually dip it in a bit of paint and do a bit of chipping effects with it as well. Not so much this one because it's a fairly close grain, but you can get them so they're a thicker grain, and you can use that for your chipping effects. This thicker stuff, it doesn't matter, it still conforms like the white. I just seem to have more of the white than the blocks of black. So keep an eye out for it. It's a very good product. It costs you nothing. It has 1,000,001 uses. It has so many. Your imagination is the limit of what you can do with this sort of stuff. You can use it for anything. So I hope that helped, guys, and I hope it helps a couple of guys that asked questions about masking some cavities up on aircraft. As I said, it can be used on anything you want, any type of aircraft, military ships, spaceships. Your imagination is the only limit to this product. So remember, guys, it's the foam material, not the polystyrene. The polystyrene will melt with some oil-based enamels and some lacquer paints, so it's this sort of plastic foam. And keep an eye out for it. Scrounge around at work, you might find some, or if you buy a new appliance, it might have it in it. So that's it for a little bit of hints and tips. Until next time, guys, be safe, model card, God bless you all, and a little bit of effort, you can get a good result out of an old kit. Catch ya.